All right, everybody, this is our January 27th DraftKings tennis breakdown. It's showing that the slate's going to start at 6 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time on January 27th, which is today. I don't know, the matches might start later or something, but there'll only be one slate because since there's only 8 quarterfinals between the men and the women, there has to be at least 8 matches on the slate. So there'll only be one available slate for the tennis, but it's going to be a 2-day slate because half of those quarterfinals are going to be today and half of them are going to be tomorrow. So just take note of that. Your lineups, if they cash, they're not going to cash out till 2 days from now. So just be aware of that, and let's have another good day. We had 2 solid days in a row. Yesterday was not quite as good, but there's still some good matches. So same abbreviations as always. HC is hard court. BRK ADV is break advantage, how many more or less breaks they're averaging than their opponents per match. Not from win-loss is their DraftKings fantasy points, not from the win-loss stats. So their points from aces, losing points from double faults, the aces or double fault bonuses, breaks, all those good things. So if they're over 30, that's good. If they're under 30, that's not good. The further over 30 they are, the better. If you're under 30, that's not good because you start off with 30. So let's get into it. Should be there's some really good matches we're going to go over. So a lot of more fun tennis to watch, and we're going to get into it. All right, the first one that we're going to talk about is Ash Barty versus Petra Kvitova. Ash Barty, home slam. She's an 18.9 RFS score. She's 57-13 in 70 measured matches with a 1.77 break advantage, winning 54% of her points. And then on hard court, she's won 79% of those 48 matches with a 1.57 break advantage, winning 53.6% of her points. So not quite as good as her overall since she won the French, but still very, very solid. And then 62.4 DraftKings points with 33.2 not from win-loss per hard court match, solid as well. And then we've got Petra Kvitova. Her key stat, she's at 18.6 RFS score. She's 38-15 in 53 measured matches with a 1.49 break advantage, winning 53.4% of her points. And then on hard court, she's won 68% of those matches with a 1.44 break advantage, winning 52.9% of her points. And then she's averaging 57.5 DraftKings points with 30.4 not from win-loss per hard court match. So it's going to be tight. These Petra Kvitova beat Ash Barty in the same round at this tournament last year, and then Ash Barty has won 3 matches in a row since. So this is a battle between arguably the 2 best players left in the tournament, but it's coming in the quarterfinal. It should be very, very good. I'm going to go with Ash Barty, though, to win another one. I think the Australian crowd and how much this tournament means to Australia and Ash Barty, I think that they're going to get her through it. I think she's going to win this match. I think she's the favorite in the tournament right now, if you had to ask me. So I'm going with Ash Barty in a very, very tight match. I'm not too confident. I think maybe a win in the tiebreak separates it. So give me her by 0.2 breaks. And then we got Sophia Kenin versus Ons Jabeur. Sophia Kenin, she's a 16.6 RFS score, 44-23 in 67 measured matches with a 0.96 break advantage, winning 51.5% of her points. And then on hard court, she's won 68% of 50 matches with a 1.07 break advantage and 51.6% of her points. So solid numbers overall, a little bit better even on hard courts. 54.1 DraftKings points with 29.8 not from win-loss in those hard court matches. She doesn't break a ton. She breaks enough. She just doesn't break a ton, and then she doesn't get tons of aces, and she can throw some double faults in. So that's why her not from win-loss is under 30. And then Ons Jabeur, 14.6 RFS score. She's 21-16 in 37 measured matches with a .03 break advantage, winning 49.9% of her points. And then on hard court, she's won 55% of 29 measured matches with a 0.18 break advantage and 50.1% of her points won. And then she's averaging 48 DraftKings points with 31.4 not from win-loss per hard court match. And so those numbers for Jabeur, I mean, they're all right, but they're nothing special. But she's playing really well right now. So she's playing better than those numbers. Obviously, those hard court numbers are better than her overall as well. So she is a better hard court player than her overall. And she's better on hard courts right now even than those stats are showing. So it should be another good match. I think Sophia Kennan's very solid from the baseline. I think she'll get a lot of Jabir's balls back. She'll stay in those rallies a little bit longer. And Jabir, I mean, she's got a really good forehand, but it can start spraying some too. So I think Sophia Kennan's going to break that down, and I think she's going to end up winning in the end. But I don't think it's going to be any type of major blowout if I had to guess. So give me Kennan by just under 1 break, 0.95 breaks. Kennan. And then we got Simona Halep versus Annette Kontaveit. Halep's key stat, she's a 17.2 RFS score. She's 44-15 in 59 measured matches with a 1.61 break advantage, winning 52.9% of her points. And she's won 70% of 37 measured hardcourt matches with a 0.99 break advantage, winning 51.7% of her points. And then she's averaging 56.4 DraftKings points with 31.7 not from win-loss per hardcourt match. And then Kontaveit, her key stats, she's a 16.5 RFS score. She's 22-16 in 38 measured matches with a 0.41 break advantage, winning 50.9% of her points. And then she's won 64% of 25 measured hardcourt matches with a 0.67 break advantage, winning 51.4% of those points. So you can see she's better on hardcourts than overall. And then she's averaging 52.9 DraftKings points with 31.7 not from win-loss per hardcourt match. So if you look at these numbers and stuff, Halep's obviously got the better overall numbers, even has the better hardcourt numbers, but it's decently close in the hardcourt, as far as points won at least. And then break advantage, Kontaveit's been pretty solid on break advantage as well. She's playing good on hardcourt. She really is. And Simona Halep, hardcourts are not necessarily her specialty, but this Australian Open hardcourts are playing slower than your typical hardcourt. I mean, that match against Elise Mertens today, Mertens was playing good. She was hitting some good shots, and Halep was getting to him, kept getting them back, led to some unforced errors, or a pretty good amount of unforced errors from Elise Mertens. So I think with these hardcourts being that way, Halep's even better than these hardcore numbers show on her stats right here. So Kontaveit, though, I mean, the way she beat Bencic and just the way she's played, I mean, she had a 5-1 lead in the third set and then kind of let it slip a little bit today. But in the end, I mean, Halep, she looks like she's poised to win the tournament. I can't really say the same about Kontaveit. So give me Halep, but I think that's going to be a close one. I think Kontaveit can keep it close with her. Give me Halep by 0.15 breaks. And then we got Garbiñe Muguruza versus Anastasia Pavlyuchenkova. Muguruza, she's a 16.7 RFS score. She's 28-14 in 42 measured matches with a 0.92 break advantage, winning 51.7% of her points. She's won 68% of 34 measured hardcourt matches with a 0.87 break advantage, winning 51.4% of those points. And she's averaging 54.7 DraftKings points with 32.4 not from win-loss per hardcourt match. And then Pavlyuchenkova, she's a 16 RFS score. She's 26-21 in 47 measured matches with a 0.27 break advantage, winning 50.6% of her points. And then she's won 61% of 41 measured hardcourt matches with a 0.65 break advantage in those matches and 51.4% of those points. So as you can see, she's better on hardcourt than she is overall. I feel the same about her as Ons Jabir's numbers. I think she's playing even better than those numbers show. I mean, the amount of winners she hit tonight was crazy. She did not make tons and tons of unforced errors either. So 50.6 DraftKings points with 29.4 not from win-loss per hardcourt match. She's kind of the same as Kennan. She breaks enough, but not like a crazy amount like Halep or Andreescu or something. And she doesn't have that serve where she's getting a bunch of aces, and she can throw in some double faults. So that's why her not from win-loss is under 30. But I really do think, I mean, this is the best rally from the baseliner that Muguruza is going to have played so far in this tournament. I mean, Svitolina, you could argue that, but she wasn't playing that way in that match, and Muguruza was all the way locked in. Pavlyuchenkova, I mean, she is rock solid from the baseline. Her backhand is dirty. Her forehand can get off a little bit if Muguruza breaks it down. That's, I think that's eventually what's going to happen in the match, but I think it's going to be very tight. I really do. But I think in the end, Muguruza, she looks on point, on fire, but she has not really played a super tight match yet. And so I think something could go like Pavlyuchenkova starts off hot and wins a set, or Muguruza wins a set, and then something happens and Pavlyuchenkova takes one, and then Muguruza ends up rebounding, has a little bit of that match toughness in that third set, and pulls out with a one break or a tie break or something like that. So I'm going with Muguruza. Going to be a very good match, though. I should mention right here that I haven't talked about the pricing. We've had the pricing in the other videos. There's no pricing out yet for this slate. So if Pavlyuchenkova is way less expensive than Muguruza, I mean, I think she's probably worth a shot. But who knows? I think they might price it kind of close, but Muguruza has that big name, and Pavlyuchenkova is relatively unknown amongst just the typical tennis fan. Not unknown, but not as known as Muguruza is. So sometimes when it's like that, Muguruza might be priced a little bit more than she maybe should based off of their form coming into this tournament and what they've done here. So just keep an eye on that. I think Muguruza is going to win, but Pavlyuchenkova does have a real shot. If she's priced very, very low, I don't mind that play at all. Well, not very, very low, but decently low enough to get the other players in that you want. So now we're on to the men's. Novak Djokovic versus Milos Raonic, or I believe it's Brad Gilbert that always calls him the Missile, which is a cool nickname. Novak Djokovic's key stats: 18.4 RFS score, 63-9 in 72 measured matches, with a 2.07 break advantage, winning 55.6% of his points. And then on a hard court, he's won 87% of those 47 measured matches, with a 2.15 break advantage, winning 56.3% of his points. So even greater than his already great numbers above overall. 70.2 DraftKings points with 33.2 not from win-loss per hard court match. Milos Raonic, 15.1 RFS score, 24-11 in 35 measured matches. Remember, he's struggled with injuries again last year. That's why his matches are low. But 1.04 break advantage, 53.3% of points won. He's won 64% of 25 measured hardcourt matches with a 0.85 break advantage, winning 52.8% of those points. And he's averaging 60.8 DraftKings points with 35.8 not from win-loss per hardcourt match. So very solid for Raonic. The not from win-loss is obviously a nice bonus when you're playing DraftKings because you get so many aces. He's looked very, very strong in this tournament. But, I mean, he's about to run into one of the GOATs who looks like he's playing his, maybe not his top level tennis, but pretty dang close. And also Raonic is 0-9 against him head-to-head all the time. But I think Raonic is playing well enough to keep it close. Maybe not like very close. I don't think we're ever going to think like, man, Djokovic is going to lose this match. But I don't think he's going to be out there getting blown out in sets and stuff. I think he's playing better than that right now. So give me Djokovic by 2.35 breaks. Something like maybe Raonic sneaks out a tiebreak in one set, but probably something where Djokovic breaks him once in two different sets and then wins a tiebreak in the other set is probably what I would most likely expect to happen. So Djokovic should have a good day. Raonic will get you some serving points, but not as much as he usually does. He's probably just an avoid at this point against Djokovic. So Roger Federer versus Tennys Sandgren. Roger Federer's key stats: 17.9 RFS score, 55-10 in 65 measured matches with a 1.92 break advantage, winning 54.7% of his points. And then on hard courts, he's won 83% of those 42 matches with a 1.97 break advantage, 54.7% of points won. So pretty much identical stats between overall and hard court. He's just solid no matter where he's playing. 68.8 DraftKings points with 34.6 not from win-loss per hard court match. Very solid there. Tennys Sandgren, this is going to look like some weird numbers for somebody that's in the quarterfinals, but he's playing better than these numbers. That match point against Fognini was the best thing. Well, maybe not the best point I've ever seen, but one of the best points that I've ever seen on a match point. He literally just went all out on that thing and was just hitting money ball after money ball after money ball, and then did the pirouette for us afterwards, or the bow. That was pretty funny too. So he's 11.8 RFS score. He's 18-19 in 37 measured matches with a negative 0.2 break advantage, winning 49.7% of his points. He's won 36% of 22 measured hardcourt matches with a negative 0.87 break advantage, winning 48.7% of his points, averaging 40.9 DraftKings points with 32.3 not from win-loss per hardcourt match, which is actually pretty impressive considering that's on only 36% of those being wins. And remember with Sandgren, these stats that you're seeing here, they're all year rolling. So from the Australian Open last year through the Australian Open this year. So he had a bunch of hardcourt stats, really good hardcourt stats fall off right before the Australian Open because he won a title before the Australian Open last year. So those hardcourt numbers are not reflected there. If they were, they'd look a little bit better. Not fantastic, but they wouldn't look quite that bad. But again, he's not playing anywhere near that level. I mean, he's getting balls back like crazy. He's serving well. He's hitting spots. I mean, forehand and backhand were both working really well against Fognini, especially at the end. So Tennis Sandgren's playing well, but the thing is, he's playing Roger Federer, and he has a little bit of a hip issue. I mean, he had to take a couple of medical timeouts against Fognini, and you could tell when he was running, when he's having to push off against that hip, going towards his forehand, he was feeling it. And I just think when Roger Federer knows that, and he's Roger Federer and the way he can hit his spots on his serve and how accurate he is just overall, I think he's licking his chops at the prospects of this. When he has a chance to make it to a semifinal, and he's playing Tennis Sandgren, and he wants to get through it quick. He wants to be fresh. I think he's going to come out and look pretty dominant. So give me Federer by 4.75 breaks. All right, this is the one. Whatever you have to do, whether you have to record it or watch it live if you can, but it's going to be at a weird time. It's going to be late, obviously, so probably like 4 in the morning for most of us here in America. So you might not be able to watch it, but if you can't watch it live, record it, and just when you have some time, just watch some of these points because it's gonna be entertaining. Rafa Nadal, he's a 17.7 RFS score, 65-9 in 74 measured matches with a 2.30 break advantage, winning 55.9% of his points. He's won 89% of 44 measured hardcourt matches with a 2.06 break advantage, winning 55.3% of his points. So not as good as his overall numbers on hard courts, but still fantastic. It's just the fact that those overall numbers have his clay court numbers in there, which are just absolutely dominant, but still absolutely dominant on hard court numbers as well. 69.8 DraftKings points with 32.9 not from win-loss per hard court match. Dominic Thiem, 16.7 RFS score, 50-17 in 67 measured matches with a 1.10 break advantage, winning 52.4% of his points. Won 76% of 37 measured hardcourt matches with a 0.95 break advantage, winning 52.1% of his points. So he's a clay court not clay court specialist is not the right word, but he's a clay court primarily, his best surface primarily is clay court, but he is getting better and better on hard courts. But that's why his hard court numbers aren't quite as good as overall because his clay numbers are pretty dominant as well. He's averaging 57.7 DraftKings points with 32.2 not from win-loss per hardcourt match. Thiem has won some matches against Rafa before. That U.S. Open a couple years ago, I'll never forget that match. That's when I was like, Dominic Thiem is one of my favorite players, and I already liked watching him play before that, but during that match, when he's on and the way that he can strike the ball, it is so fun to watch. And coming into this match, I mean, Thiem is the fresher of the two, I think, and he's going to try to make it as physical as possible. He's going to rip balls all over the court. Rafa Nadal, being who he is going to run down tons and tons and tons of them. And there's a chance that Rafa Nadal might run out of energy. There is the chance, but I'm not going to say that until it actually happens. Dominic Thiem, I can't pick Dominic Thiem to win the match. I'm going to go with Nadal in a very, very close, tight one. I think it's going to be a classic. Give me Nadal by 0.75 breaks. I think it's going to go 5 sets. So give me Nadal, very close, but I would not give anybody a hard time that did pick Dominic Thiem. I think he really does have a real shot here. So if he's like crazy low priced, I think that's a good shot play. Sorry about that. My phone just dropped on the ground. All right, and then final one, we've got Stan Wawrinka versus Alex Zverev. Wawrinka's key stats, he's a 15.5 RFS score. He's 34-19 in 53 measured matches with a 0.65 break advantage, winning 51.7% of his points. And then he's the Federer type of guy too, where his hardcourt matches are almost identical to his overall matches. Won 67% of 36 measured hardcourt matches with a 0.63 break advantage, winning 51.7% of his points. Those obviously, his overall in hardcourts are like Federer's in the fact that they're very close and even, but they're not as good as Federer's, but still solid. Averaging 58.8 DraftKings points with 35.8 not from win-loss per hardcourt match. That's a solid not from win-loss number. He's very good at getting aces and not double faulting a lot. So Wawrinka should not hurt you in that regard at all. And then we got Alex Zverev, who these numbers could either be better than what he's going to be or way worse than what he's going to be. So far in this tournament, they've been way worse than what he's going to be. He's way outperformed his overall numbers. But again, I mean, people thought this guy 3 years ago was going to be winning majors very soon. So, I mean, his potential is way better than these numbers, and what he's done this tournament is way better than these numbers. But what he was doing right before this tournament are way worse than these numbers. So I'm going to read them, but they really are probably the most irrelevant for Zverev of anybody. 15.3 RFS score, 44-27 in 71 measured matches with a 0.53 break advantage, winning 51.3% of his points. He's won 62% of 42 measured hardcourt matches with a 0.34 break advantage, winning 51.5% of his points. He's averaging 51.2 DraftKings points with 30.7 not from win-loss per hardcourt match. That 30.7 number should be way higher, but he did have a big double fault problem. And again, I thought we were going to get it today versus Rublev, but you could tell, especially when Rublev was going to his backhand, he did not have the same type of energy. It wasn't really that close. Zverev won by one break in each set, so it wasn't like a blowout or anything, but he didn't get pushed. There weren't like tons of points on his serve that were very, very important. And I think against somebody like Stan Wawrinka, definitely against Wawrinka if he plays like he did against Medvedev, because that was a ball striking clinic. I mean, that was awesome. And if he plays like that, I'm going with Wawrinka by more than what I have predicted here. But that level is probably somewhat unsustainable. But he's done it for a long time before. He's a multiple Grand Slam winner, so he definitely could do it again twice in a row. And if he does, I think he's going to win comfortably. But I think there's going to be some ups and downs in this match. I think a lot of them. And ultimately, I really do think that there's going to be a very costly, very untimely double fault that maybe not give Stan Wawrinka the ultimate advantage. I hope it doesn't happen that way. I hope it doesn't happen in a fifth set or something. But maybe just in an earlier set where it leads to a break that gives Wawrinka the momentum or something. Give me Wawrinka in a very close one, 0.15 break. So as you can see there, I think we're going to see some tiebreakers. And I think we're going 5 sets. Maybe Wawrinka in 4 if he's playing like he does against Medvedev or like he did against Medvedev. But I'm gonna say 5. So Stan the man. Moving on, that would be pretty cool. I love Stan Wawrinka. Not that I don't love Alex Zverev. I love Stan Wawrinka. I have for a long time. It'd be cool to see him win that match. But Alex Zverev, he did pledge that if he wins this tournament, he's gonna pledge his entire winner's check to the Brushfire relief. So that would obviously be very, very cool. That'd be crazy to see. It'd be crazy if he won his first one that way, but I don't think he would complain in the slightest. Maybe that's what he needs to stay hot, stay out of his head on that second serve. Maybe he's playing for something bigger than himself in his mind. So that's what I got. Should be some more awesome tennis to watch. Thank you guys for watching this video. I hope it helps you, and I hope you win some money. Again, one more time, we are sponsored by Rank Fantasy Sports. That's www.rankfantasysports.com. Rank as in rankings, RANK. There's a 7-day free trial there, $9.99 a month after that. So very, very affordable. We do daily projections for multiple different sports: tennis, golf, NBA, NFL, college basketball during the tournament, college football all year long. And then we've got even more stats like this, more in depth on the rest of these, on all the tennis players. And then we've got in-depth stats on golf, college football, those things. So I think you should check it out. You got a 7-day free trial. I think you'll like it. Thank you guys for watching. Like, share, comment, subscribe if you enjoyed it. And everybody have a great day.